Yeah.
Hi, Mayor.
Mary potato salad, everything's delicious. Potato salad. Mary's back. Everything is copacetic in the world. I now call to order Platteville Board of Trustees regular meeting for November 7th, 2017. Could we please have a moment of silence to observe and honor the people who stand guard inside and outside our borders to protect and serve? Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mayor Steve Nelson.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hope Morris.
Here.
Larry Clark.
Here.
Adrian Sandoval.
Here.
Tim Nelson.
Here.
Michael Cowper.
Here.
Troy Blum.
Here. Okay. Next, approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next, audience participation. Do we have anybody out there who would like to address the Board of Trustees? Okay. Works for me. Okay, next, we have, we're going to put Adrian Sandoval first, RE1 student activities. Adrian, you want to?
Well, actually, we're going to have Jeanette Gilbert come up with Mr. D, and we've got the Youth Coalition. We're going to swear in our 2 elementary kiddos. They're very nervous, but they're going to do great.
The kids are all right.
They're going to do good.
We don't bite.
All right, well, thank you for having us here. I'm Derek DeMert. I'm the principal of Platteville Elementary. I know almost all of you very well. I just want to say I've been here 9 years. It's been 9 years since I've been here to this board meeting, because I came when I was first placed down in Platteville and introduced myself. So 9 years from now, I'll be retired. I might come back and tell you what I'm up to. I just want to thank the Town of Platteville for working with the school district. Mr. Rankin and I go back many years, and he's a pleasure. David is like anything we need, we call David, and he always comes through. And Kim I serve on Rotary with, so Mr. Cowper, I've had lots of his kids. So thank you very much. I've enjoyed our time here. So Adrian came to us about a year ago, I guess, and asked us if we'd be interested in this. I think it's a great idea. I'm going to turn it over to Jeanette Gilbert. She's our counselor, does a great job, and then she'll turn it over to 2 nervous kids who just ate a big meal. So I forgot to mention the chief. Thanks so much. We met our new SRO today, by the way. So thank you. I think she's going to work out great. Jeanette.
So again, thank you guys for allowing us to be part of what goes on there. The kids may not show it now, but they are excited to be part of this and to get to have a say in what goes on in their community as well, so that's important. As far as student council, we try to let the kids run it. We are there as the leaders and the support for them, but otherwise it is up to them. We help build their ideas and then bring them to Mr. D, who usually lets us do most of our activities. So, there we are.
You want a chair to stand on? Good.
Put the mic down.
Pull up the stand there.
There, like that.
It's movable. That'll make them more nervous.
Hello. My name is Carson Adolph, and I am the president of Student Council. The other members are the vice president is Jesus, the secretary is Lily, and the treasurer is Kendall. And last is my communication reporter. We also have 9 other class representatives. Throughout the year, we have lots of fundraisers, and last year we bought the sign and the fence. We also had school spirit days throughout the year where we wear special clothes. Our main goal is to make a fun place for kids to learn. And here's Maya.
Hi, my name's Maya, and I'm the Student Council Communication Reporter. We just finished up with Red Ribbon Week and with selling the spots. Last month, we also finished our first fundraiser. We are going to start raising money for the senior center. Also, this month we are going to start the canned food drive. Student Council has done some really cool and amazing things this year, and to have more and amazing things and activities. We will also be having more Spirit Week this year. Student Council is such a great group to be in. Our goal as Student Council is to make school a fun place to be. We would love for any of you to stop in and see the great things that are happening at PES.
So again, thank you, and if you're ever having a bad day at work, stop by the school, grab a book, and go down to a kindergarten room or a first grade room, and you'll forget about your bad day. So, our main project this year is to support the senior center. We don't know how much we'll be able to do, so I'm going to work with Kim, I think, and see what we can do to help support that town adventure. So, okay, all right. Well, thank you guys for having us.
Thank you.
Oh,
As representative.
sure.
You want to be sworn in?
So now that you're in a political office, I assuming you'll be running for mayor in a few years?
Oh, wait.
She swears in.
Just stand here and you can read that at the same time. You want to do you both at the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. Face me. Raise your hand. Okay. I state your name. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States of America
the Constitution of the United States of America
and the goals of Weld County RE1 School District,
and the goals of the Weld County RE1 School District,
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
and that I will faithfully perform the duties
of the office of Student Council Representative
of the office of Student Council Representative
to the Town of Platteville,
to the Town of Platteville,
to which I have been duly appointed.
to which I have been duly appointed.
All right, you're official. Let me get you, no, here,
Oh.
keep these, come over here and we'll sign it and stamp them. All right, there's your name down. Line. Here's another one for the room.
So now you're bona fide.
We meet every other Tuesday.
I'm pretty sure Adrian didn't mention that.
Once a quarter.
Once a quarter,
Just
yeah.
update us of what's going on
Yeah.
and what we can help with.
There's only enough pay to cover maybe I should because of the cable.
Mary.
There you go. You bet.
now the rest of it's sort of mundane, huh? These other big.
Thanks for coming.
That's all I came for.
Right?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wait a minute, this is our audience. No, you have to stay.
Okay, next, and trying to follow this one up, is our Will County RE1 School District presentation, Mr. Rangel.
Part of the mundane part. Okay. Mayor Nelson and trustees, thank you for letting me have a few minutes. Nancy Sargent, our board president, is going to hand some handouts out to our trustees that go that way. And if we have enough handouts, we'll get some too. No, I'll get you some copies. Well, it's, I'm not going to use this if you don't mind. It's ironic that I'm speaking to you tonight because it was just a year ago that the voters of our three communities voted in and approved passing a bond issue for us. And that bond issue was for $62 million. And one of the things that I had shared with community when I was meeting with community groups and individuals for about the 13 months leading up to that November time frame is that one of the things that was most important to us and most critical to us was that we began to rebuild a trust-based relationship between the school district and the three communities that we serve. And that those communities include LaSalle, Gilchrist, and Platteville. And part of, I think, building the trust was, and many times if you go out, you say you're going to do this, if you go out and you tell the community, here's what we'll do with the money if you pass the bond. And it's, we have an obligation as a school district to go out and spend that money that exact way. Okay, and so one of the things that I wanted to do over the next 2 years is our bond work should really be done by August of 2019. Is I want to be able to come and speak to the different groups. This will be my 9th presentation in about 5 weeks. We'll have talked to all 3 town boards. We'll have talked to 5 out of our 6 parent groups at our schools. We'll talk to Platteville Rotary, and I have an upcoming talk with LaSalle Lions. Is to be able to go out and say, this is what's happening now on the bond issue. Then I'd like to be able to come back and spend about 10 minutes with you about midwinter, and then as the school year ends, come back right prior to summer to talk about what's happening with the bond then, and then repeat that process next year as well. And we also have created, one of the things we said we would do if we pass the bond is we would create a community bond oversight communication committee. We have done that, and we have representatives from all 3 towns that serve on the communication committee. And it's, we will also be meeting 3 times this year, probably once in the summer and 3 times next year, just so that there's informed folks out in the community. So that when we're all done with this, everything that was on the list that we said needed to be repaired in our schools, those lists will have been done. And we will try to do that on time and on budget, because that's our goal. I passed out just a few sheets here, and I'm just kind of speed talking because Troy said I have 10 minutes, so we're going to try to hold that. So you have the sheet here, and this is just a reminder of the scope of the bond, the work we said we would do in all 6 schools. And then you can look and see and really kind of point out both Platteville Elementary and South Valley and the work that's going to be done there. Just in general, we are replacing the roof systems on all 6 of our buildings. We are fixing all the drainage issues that we have on our campuses and sites. You know, there was a time where I visited South Valley after a strong rain in the middle of the summer, and the building was half flooded because the water didn't still drain correctly. So fixing all the drainage systems. We are replacing and updating the HVAC system in all 6 schools. And we are also sprinkling, putting in fire sprinklers in above the ceiling in all 6 of our schools as well to bring us up to code. And I know that our folks from DCS who are serving as our owners' representatives have met. I think you guys had a meeting just yesterday. We've been talking about what's going to be required to get some of this work done and in those areas. Platteville, you'll notice in about February, we'll be breaking ground on the new gymnasium that's going in, that's going to be attached to be part of Platteville Elementary School. So you'll be able to start to see some construction. But those are all work, that's all work that is not always visible to the public, but it's critical work in our school. These are kind of things that kind of set us at a 2017 standard. What we hope you'll all see when folks walk through our doors in August of 2019 is that our schools have new carpet, they have new paint, all of our single pane windows will have been replaced with double pane windows. We'll have new lighting, updated lighting in our schools throughout the school district. We will have taken care of some of the cosmetic things, and even though they seem superficial, they will stand out to kids and to teachers and to our community when you walk through our schools and help make a better quality learning environment. The one thing that I'm really glad about when we have our kids get up in front of any group is that, one, is they carry themselves well, and two, it always reminds me that our kids deserve, and this school district deserve, to walk through the hallways of quality facilities. And I think this money is going to help us get there. So this is just a reminder of the scope of the work that's being done. If once I think the Town of Platteville issues us a permit, right, we're going to be building, as soon as that happens, you'll see some decent sized signs in the front yard of each of our schools that'll say 2016 bond program, Platteville Elementary School, reminds folks of what our mission is. And then at the bottom, and most importantly, is our website for the district, because if you go to the district Weld RE1 website and you click on that, there's a tab in there that says bond on that. If you click on the bond tab, you'll be able to get running updates of the work that's being done. And so, just as an example of that, you probably see two things. You'll see a picture of the school, a reminder of the scope. And this picture will change as projects are getting done. That picture will change on the website. And I just gave you an example for Platteville Elementary and South Valley Middle School. The other thing we'll see, and I just pulled out about 3 months worth, is you'll see a bond activity summary. And so we passed the bond in November, we sold the bond in December right prior to winter break, and then we closed on those bonds in January of 2017. And this, we have a running total of what has happened month by month by month. What happened in January, what happened in February, what happened in March. If you get on our website, you'll see a monthly summary of the activities that have occurred. I will tell you, as of today, we had finished our design documents. We hired CMGC for each one of our town projects. In LaSalle, construction company we're working with is Roach Construction out of Greeley. In Gilchrist, we're working with the construction company called Franz and Pittman. And for the Platteville project, for our schools in Platteville, we are working with GCC, or Golden Triangle Construction out of Longmont. And what's been really refreshing about, as they take design documents and they start creating the construction documents, we're starting to go from having cost estimates to actual costs. And the news has been really good. As they start firming up those prices, there's a good likelihood that we would be able to come in under budget as a whole. And then what that allows us to do as a school district is then add some scope. So once we get all of this work done, what else might we want to do? Do we need to redo our parking lots? Do the elementary schools need new playground equipment that might be safer? Because you wouldn't believe the number of broken arm reports that I get coming across my desk. Does our technology infrastructure need to be improved? So our goal is to get done everything on this list and come in under budget and potentially being able to add some scope. What was interesting was meeting with parent groups and parent staff groups, both in design meetings and user group meetings. Their wish list, above and beyond the list that you see in the original scope, was about 600 items. So there's other things that we wouldn't mind getting to if we can add some scope. And so right now, I think things are going fine. The construction documents are being developed. And the other thing that's been happening is that we've been creating what's the construction schedule. A little elementary school like Gilchrist Elementary School can get done in one phase. They'll start work at Gilchrist Elementary School in February, and then the whole project for Gilchrist Elementary School will be done this August. A school like Platteville is going to take 2 to 3 phases to get all the work done that needs to happen at Platteville Elementary School. Our high school, which is by far our largest project, as there's 3 buildings on that campus, will have 4 phases to it. And so, when I come back in December, I should be able to give you clearly the construction schedule of what's happening in phase 1, what's happening in phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, depending on the school, with a goal of being done by August of 2019. And so I think we're right on track. Our construction document should be done by December and submitted to the state. We're hoping to get construction permits by January so that the work can start in February. Because I'm not a construction person just naturally, I was a little frustrated at how long it takes to go from design to construction documents and permitting. That was a good learning process for me. I kind of thought I could be like Harry Potter, wave my wand and it would all be done. So that's been taking a little bit of patience, and a lot of work and a lot of diligence. We were able to completely redo our stadium this summer, and I was catching a little flack. Folks were saying, is football more important than your roofs? Why are you taking care of the football field now? Well, the football field project and the putting a new track and a new football field, going from design to construction documents to permitting was a very short process in comparison to the school, so it was something we could do this summer, and that's why we were able to get that done. We'll be able to have a track season and host track meets for the first time in 7 years in our district, which is going to be outstanding. The kids are really, really excited. The other thing we were able to get done this past summer is we did above ceiling abatement of hazardous materials in all 6 of our schools. Some of the, between asbestos and some other things like that, and frankly, in some of our Platteville schools, we also had a little bit of a mouse issue of stuff that had been building up above our ceilings for some years, and we were able to get the little friends out of there, fog it, clean it out completely, and abate that. And so that above ceiling work took all summer long. We were able to abate Pete Marich Elementary School completely in Gilchrist. Pete Marich, I think maybe because of the age of the building, it was kind of like asbestos central. It took, we had hoped to get the below ceiling work done in all 6 schools, and we were able to get 2 schools done. And so in this Thanksgiving break, winter break, and spring break, we'll be able to get the abatement done in the rest of the schools, because we want to get that out of the way before our folks come in and start trying to work. So it is, I think things are going fine so far, and it certainly has been a learning experience for me, for sure. I didn't realize just the amount of planning and designing that goes into having quality construction documents that the state will approve so that you can get your work done. You guys do this kind of work a little bit more often than I do, but it was it's been a good experience so far. We just have to kind of stay on top of it and be diligent. So that's a little bit about that, and I'll entertain any questions that you might have if we have a few more seconds, and I'd love to be able to come back about midwinter sometime around February and give you another update, especially with the phases of construction that are coming up.
How is this going to affect summer break?
Okay.
Talk about the calendar.
Yes, that's my favorite conversation. Help Nancy, no, I'm just, one of the things that has, our school district, because it's been on really had a modified 4-day week for about 6 years now, which means that really for the first 2 months of the school year, typically the kids go 5 days a week, and then starting roughly at the first week in October through the end of the year, the kids are on a 4-day week. And that schedule's been in place for about 6 years. What that does with the 4-day week is gets our kids dismissed out of school later than everybody around us, and they start school well earlier. I think this year, if you remember when you were a kid, you kind of look forward maybe to June, July, and August. You might have a job, you might do some things for June, July, and August. Our teachers were really off about the second week in June, and we returned on July 31st, and our kids started on August 7th. That 7 or 8 week summer, just to do something as complicated as the sprinkling system of taking out an entire ceiling, putting in a sprinkler system alone, that work alone is going to take far longer than a 7-week summer. And we're trying to really balance two purposes here, get the construction done on time and on budget. But the second thing is to try to make sure that we're ensuring that we're having a quality learning environment during the school year. And we hired each of our firms with the idea that if they had to do work in an occupied school, what would be their game plan for pulling that off? And they all had a plan. But yet, I'm not convinced that having our school trying to get that extensive of work done, just the roofing and all the above ceiling work alone with kids in the building is our best interest. So I have recommended to our Board of Education that we create a calendar for the next 2 years that returns us to a 3-month summer, so that the kids get done at with school roughly at Memorial Day weekend, but then not come back until after Labor Day, which will give us 3 full months to do construction in the summertime. What that does, though, is it creates a little bit of a scenario with our kids currently have to go to school 160 days. That's mandated by the state, unless you get a waiver from the number of days. So you can go 150 or you can go 140, but what the state doesn't do is give you a waiver on the number of hours kids have to go to school. And our kids have to go to school 1,080 hours. So you can imagine, if we have a 160-day calendar still, our kids would have to be able to go to school the same length day, but with a longer summer, that would essentially disband the 4-day week, and our kids would go back to a 5-day week. Does that make sense? For the next 2 years plus a longer summer. If we want to maintain the 4-day week and go 10 less days, we get a waiver from the state, but then our school day would be longer. So, for example, if our school day currently is 8:05 to 3:30, it may be that the school day is 7:45 to 3:35, for example. Maybe we'd add 20 minutes to each school day to make up that time so you get your hours, your mandated hours in. Because of our large geographic area, that doesn't seem impossible to get all of our time in. Yet, we have kids getting on the bus as early as 6 o'clock. If we go earlier, are we going to have our little friends getting on the bus at 5:45 or 5:40, and that starts to get awful, or makes for a long day for little kids. And so that's what we're considering is we have a 160-day calendar and not have a 4-day week anymore, which 2 years ago 86% of our community said they liked the 4-day week. Or do we go to keep a 4-day calendar to go for longer days? And that's kind of a choice that we're having right now, making a recommendation to our board in December about what it is that we might want to do with that. We have surveyed our staff, and we've surveyed our parents. And our parents in particular, about 7 out of every one of our 10 parents have returned a survey like the 4-day week.
Oh, that's great.
And so, now, remember, it's not democracy, though, that's just okay. No, but that's kind of what the survey results said, and the board read those very, very carefully. And so, I wanna be able to make a good decision. I hope folks understand that the calendar cycle for our school district is every 2 years. So the construction gets done in 2 years. In 2 years, we can revisit the schedule, revisit the calendar. And so that's going to be the decision that's really, I will make a recommendation, but ultimately our school board will have to decide what kind of calendar they want for the next 2 years. So that'll be the challenge a little bit. It's a little bit, it's going to be a hard decision, and I suspect that there'll be a portion of our community not overly happy with me. So, but that's just the way it goes sometimes. So, any other questions for me? That was a really good question, by the way.
I won't ask anymore.
Shorten your spring break and your Christmas break and try to make up for it that way?
You can. I mean, there's certain things you can do and trim it out. And what I've discovered is that if there's about 15 of us in here. If I asked you what would be the best calendar, there's like 15. We have about 15 different options, including ideas like that as well. So you're right about that, Mayor Nelson.
I have a question about the bond issue.
Sure.
Interest rate that you got, are you familiar with that?
Yeah, I don't have that off the top of my head, what our interest rate is.
Or the maturity date, is it 30 years?
We put it on we have it on a 15-year.
15.
Yeah, with the idea that we ended up with we locked in a good interest rate, I just can't remember the exact figure.
Okay.
Our hope is that we really can get this paid off in 10, even though we did it on 15 years.
And that's for the total?
For the total package.
What was the total amount?
62 million.
62.
Okay. But then I can also get that information and send it to Troy, you can share that.
That's right, you can always call a municipal bond, so yeah, if you pay it off early.
We can pay it off early, so that would be the goal. Typically, I think the last time the district passed a bond in 1995, they were able to take a 15-year bond and pay it off in 10. And that's kind of our goal this time as well, is to try to pay it off early. So, get that locked down. Ultimately in life, at some point in life, I'll retire and there'll be a different board, different superintendent. I'd really like whoever comes next, if at some point, 5 years down the road or 6 years down the road, and they want to put a bond on the ballot, I want the community to be able to say, you know what, last time they did exactly what they said they were going to do, so there's that trust there. Because ultimately the schools belong to the communities, they certainly don't belong. I get lucky enough to work here, but they certainly aren't my schools, they're our schools, so their schools. Other questions? Awesome. February maybe? Talk you back?
Sounds
That would
good.
be great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'll bump you to 20 minutes till next time.
I thought
Did I go over the 10? And there he is.
Too many of us are leaving. Here comes more of your audience leaving.
Thank you for the communication, Don.
You bet. Thank you, guys.
You can come and visit our board anytime.
4-day week thing blows my mind, I never heard of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
And you know what's weird here?
next we have water supply plan presentation. Mr. Rankin?
Tonight we have with us Adam Smith from Civil Resources. Mr. Brad Hagan couldn't attend tonight for the scheduling conference. Adam will, you come on up to the podium, Adam. Actually, if you want to have a seat, that's fine as well.
Oh, no, I'll stay.
Okay.
That's fine.
What you have, the board, today, Adam sent you the electronic copy. It's pretty large, so Mary put that in the Dropbox for the trustees. Mary, you have a hard copy in front of you. Obviously, this
And I'm not sharing either.
obviously, Adam's going to talk about a little bit of the scope and the main bullet points, and then we'll have time to review it more thorough and maybe have a final conversation in next month or so. Okay.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you, Troy. I'm Adam Smith, I'm with Civil Resources, and we were contracted to prepare this raw water master plan for the town of Platteville. The scope and sort of what we're seeing even in other municipalities is, as you know, Platteville gets their water from contract with Northern that administer through Central, but it's a CBT water system, and the CBT water system is pretty pricey. Water just is very valuable, and it's a limited resource, so it's getting more costly. So a lot of municipalities are looking at ways to reduce how dependent they are on the CBT water. So some of that also is you've got one water source, you've got lack of control, you're tied into your contract. So there's those issues as well. Also, as you know, as development occurs, demands increase, you're just using more of that water source. So just to give you an idea of what the town uses right now for raw water, some parks and the ball fields are irrigated with wells, and then the cemetery is irrigated with the Platteville ditch. So it's estimated that about 38 acre feet right now of water, raw water, is being used to irrigate. Just to give you a comparison, in 2016, the town used about 382 acre feet of CBT water. So, and studies have shown about half of the water usage, the CBT water usage, is irrigation. So, and to make those numbers even more large, it fills out, it's estimated that it'll be about 2,600 acre feet of water that's needed to the town of Platteville. So one option that was looked at was creating a dual water system, which currently right now, all the new development and the existing development, they irrigate their lawns with the potable CPT water. One option that was looked at was creating a dual system, so it would be a total separate infrastructure that would go to irrigate new development with raw water. And it's not real cost effective to try to go back and retrofit, subdivisions or housing that's already built. So it'd be more for any new development. But that would work basically just like you would build them if it was potable. You'd have a lower billing rate to build them for the raw water. So the town would acquire water rights, and then most likely what we've seen is have to either get a grant or invest some money to get the system at least set up a little more, get the pump station in, get the supply in, the raw water, a main, in the direction of growth, and then as development comes in, then they can come in and say, okay, we'll tie on your, we'll extend your raw water system so we can tie into it and use it to irrigate the new development. The benefit to the developer is then the town, and this will be a policy decision, but the town could say, okay, instead of giving us one share of CPT per unit, per single family, you can give us another study, a detailed study would have to be done on that, but you say it's 0.8 shares of CPT, and then you also give us half an acre foot of raw water. So that's how it would basically work in a 5,000 square foot overview. But it would be, you could also, another way to sort of fund it would be to have, as the development comes in, is to have, sorry, I'm backtracking in my mind. So the developer comes in, they would give you the raw water to supply it. Another option, which, as we started looking into it, is an option, but it's most likely an expensive one, is to partner up with local municipalities. To partner up with like Fort Lupton. They have, I believe, like a smaller RO plant that you can, partner with them, but the cost to get the water from there to here would be fairly expensive. A couple other options that, one, I talked to Mr. Hendrickson, that when I talked to him here not too long ago, he had some plans on development in northern Platteville, north side of Platteville. He mentioned that he would like to have his own raw water system. That could be maybe a partnering issue or a partnering opportunity. I don't know the details of that. I don't know exactly how all that would work, because when I talked to him, he had some general plans, but nothing specific. So, as far as partnering with other municipalities, the town of Platteville is sort of in the middle of central system, water system, and with other municipalities a little farther away, you could partner, but it would be fairly expensive just to run, a 12-inch water line from Fort Lupton up to Platteville. So, another option would be to have Platteville have its own water treatment system. That is an option. You would still need to obviously bring the raw water, but it's a lot of permits, a lot of state regulation, a lot of maintenance, maintaining it. So there are a fair amount of issues that come along with that, but maybe one or some of these with the dual system for the irrigation, and if Mr. Hendrickson develops that up there. You know, maybe there's a partnering thing there just to get emergency water in the case of CPT, like during the floods. That could be an option as well. We also took a look at the water rates for the town of Platteville and compared them to the surrounding communities and water providers. And so your water bill is based on a system investment fee and then your usage. And so we took a look at that, compared them to like Gilchrist, Frederick, Firestone, Left Hand Water District. And the system investment fee for the town of Platteville, what they charge is on the lower end compared to other municipalities. And that system investment fee is a fee that's paid on new development when somebody wants to hook up a meter. You know, that's a fee that they pay. Now, the water rates were a little on the higher side, the usage rate. So in the report we did, because there's so many variables in that, we compared a 5,000 gallon, 10,000 gallon, 15,000 gallon month based on the usage. And so looking at that, Platteville's on the higher side. When we looked at this for possible sources of funding to start acquiring water rights to put in a dedicated raw water fund. So we did recommend that, you know, you could maybe raise that system investment fee a little bit, just because it is on the lower side. Obviously, that's...
Just to clarify, you said the systems investment fee.
Yes.
For the new development coming in?
Yes. So, for example, if a developer comes in and or anybody, they want to build a house and it's a new water service, then they would pay the town that system investment fee, which...
So when you talk about usage fee, are you talking about just per gallon fee?
Correct. Yeah.
Not how much base rate?
Yes, the base rate is in there as well.
Okay, so that's included.
Exactly. So...
Now, did you break it out as far as what other communities charge as far as the base rate?
Yep.
Is our base rate compared with other communities?
The base rate, it's a little hard to compare apples to apples on this because, for example, Gilchrist includes 5,000 gallons of usage in their base rate, where none of the other municipalities did. So,
what do we include in our base rate? Nothing? Okay.
So yeah.
A bit of water bill.
Our base rate goes basically toward maintenance of the system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And a couple years ago, we implemented a tiered system that has produced some impact. I know Adam, we've had several long conversations along with David about this study, and it is hard to compare apples and oranges. One thing I mentioned to Adam and Brad Hagan is that a couple years ago we did our system investment fee, or investment study, impact study.
Yep.
And we went from a higher in both water and sewer down to a lower based upon that study. And what Brad and Adam told me is based upon their study, we could potentially raise that back up based upon this study for the water, which would make sense. And we'd be more comparable, because, for example, what is Gilchrist's system investment fee? It's astronomical for all of it.
Yeah, Left Hand was the most. Left Hand water was $10,000. Where...
So that $10,000, do they also require them to bring in acre foot of water?
Yep.
Okay.
Correct. So...
Gilchrist was $5,000
Yes.
system investment. Firestone is $3,000. Frederick is anywhere from $1,000 to $2,500. Little Thompson is $7,000, and Left Hand is $13,500. Just primarily Boulder County.
Left Hand is, yes.
The part of with the impact fee, not to interrupt, is when BBC did that, our infrastructure didn't justify a huge investment fee, but if we added some kind of treatment coming out the master meter for chloride or whatever, or if we did an osmosis system, obviously that would be even more justification to maintain that infrastructure as well.
Correct.
I just broke your train of thought altogether.
Yeah, you did. I'm probably as nervous as those kids are. We're earlier.
They don't bite it.
At least not very hard.
Yeah. Another thing that is a suggestion, I guess, that could be looked at more is if you have extremely high water users that are using more water than what they dedicated, that is another item that could be looked at as well.
You can't ask them to retroactively bring water in, can we?
No, not to, I don't believe so. But you can steepen the usage to, and that leads me into another point, is water conservation. Is that would try to help the high water users, conserve more water. And even just, everybody, if there's water conservation ideas that you can get out there, just to help people conserve more water. Because if it's cheap, and then everybody just uses it when they want, and it'll be raining, but there's sprinklers on, or so any type of water conservation.
Another question is when you're dealing with the system, and it has to support itself. Our enterprise fund has to support itself. If our usage goes way down, then you created another issue.
Right.
Where it was supporting the enterprise, and now it's not because the usage has gone way down. So you have to look at other ways to support it.
Well, and I see your point with the existing community or existing development stuff, but now, if there is a dual system, then, for the new development, then, those people would still be paying a usage rate for the raw water, but it would be cheaper. So it's a benefit to them, because it's a cheaper water just to irrigate your lawn, but it's a benefit to the town as well, because they'd be less dependent on the CBT water.
On the raw water, may or may not, I don't want to get ahead of you, but when we last spoke, you and Brad, David, and I, we talked about possibly implementing a raw water enterprise fund on top of the water and the sewer enterprise fund. Can you touch on that a little bit? Yeah,
and you've seen that this seems to work the best, at least, is when there is like you mentioned, a raw water enterprise fund that is, portions of, say, the system investment fee, it's earmarked directly for the raw water, and it's its own separate fund that, when you have a developer come in and pay any type of fee, or if it's, this study doesn't get as detailed as, every little fee, but as the development comes in, if they give the town or pay a fee to the town for the raw water, it goes into a separate raw water enterprise fund that would fund itself. But it does take time, because the usage for the raw water would be paid for by development, and development is, we don't know if or when it'll be here. So ultimately the plan is to have its own fund that it would support itself.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
The quality of the surface water around here, we have a number of wells. Can we effectively and efficiently treat that water to bring it to the standards required for potable?
That I don't know. I can definitely look into that and send that to Troy. And
I don't know if those wells are deep enough, going back to Gary Hendrickson.
Surface water, yeah.
He went to the state, and he has what we call a deep capacity well over here about dairy, where you have dairy cows.
Yes.
And he was excited 'cause he went through some permitting process through the state to where he could actually use that well water to be treated as potable or to be supplied as raw water. But he indicated, and I don't know the answer either, but it had to be a certain depth on the alluvial in order to be considered by the state to allow that use. Otherwise, it needs to go back into the aquifer.
Okay, so surface water would be disqualified?
Probably, I'm just guessing based upon just comments he made today.
I'll take a look into that a little more and talk to Brad, and I'll get back to you on that.
And then on our ditch waters, Adam, we talked about, we're only using a very small portion of our 1324 share. Could you expand on what use we could do on that ditch water as well?
Definitely. So that, on the Platteville ditch, a small portion of it is being used to irrigate the cemetery, and then a larger portion is being leased to the property to the north. Yeah. And we talked about this in the report that, that extra water could be the raw water that is needed to start a dual system for irrigation for new development. So you would have the water rights, but there would still need to be, maybe a larger pond constructed right off the ditch near the cemetery, a pump station, and then, a main line that would be directed in the direction of development. So that is an option with that water, since the town already owns it.
We have the old system back in 1994 when the town went on potable water with Northern. I know, David, you said it comes across down Central to Maine, and then we exposed a pothole years ago by the post office, so it runs at least probably to Grand. Because the seniors tell me at one time back in the 70s, 80s, all the yards were flush because they had all this free ditch water to water them. So I think utilizing some of that, because our growth is to the north, through a comprehensive plan.
Yep.
What's that?
All the nitrates in the water make it nice and green.
But I think utilizing some of the old infrastructure may save us a bunch of money.
Exactly. There is an existing pipe that goes underneath 85 right at Central, which, could be utilized to...
Well, we know the water does come up across 85 because...
I heard about that.
Yeah. It comes out underneath the sidewalk.
Waiting to get y'all that.
Let me just touch on one other thing, and then I'll sort of circle all this back around. But, another option is to get into NISP. And NISP is the Northern Integrated Supply Project, and basically, if you don't know, it's a new project. I believe they're about done permitting, or they're hopefully getting close to permitting the project. But it involves, in a nutshell, two big reservoirs, one up near Fort Collins, one east or near...
Your Guild, isn't it?
Yes.
Guild.
Yeah. And so basically they will supply, it's a new source of water that will still go to Central Wells plant, and they'll still treat it, and they'll still deliver it to all these communities through their existing infrastructure. Now they are looking at building a plant in Johnstown. It's been, I shouldn't say looked at, it's been mentioned that they may build a new treatment plant near Johnstown. So it is sort of, they haven't supplied a drop of water yet, so it's supposedly supposed to be cheaper than CBT water. But another benefit to it is the NISP water, you can get reuse credits. So whereas CBT you cannot. So that's another possibility. That's not, it's one of those things that all these towns have already purchased shares, so there's a limited number of shares available. I was told today that sometimes they do go on, people do sell them, so it is a possibility you could get into NISP. I don't know current prices or anything, but I know it is depending on how many shares you buy, it could be a significant investment. But supposedly cheaper than CBT, so with that.
As far as getting into NEST,
Mhm.
since it will be supplied to the same line,
Mhm.
all we'd have to do is go out and buy the water.
Yes, correct. Now, this is still, I guess, it's not in the early stages, but I mean, they are getting the permitting done, but a lot can change by the time they start delivering the water. But that's the way it's been discussed up till now.
Yeah, because Northern will honor NISP shares. But I don't know enough details. Go ahead, David. I don't know enough details about NISP. Maybe they'll bring that up in the fall meeting that we're going to attend next month.
I was gonna say, next week we're going to the fall users meeting with Northern Water. And
Okay.
they will be doing updates on NISP at that time. I think delivery is probably still 6 to 8 years away at the earliest on that project. Do you know, I know for CBT shares, obviously we contact Northern. Do you know to find out about purchasing NISP shares? Do we go through Northern? Do you have any idea about that, number one? And then number two, can you explain, for the board's sake, what the reuse is with NISP versus the fact that we can't reuse with CBT?
Mhm. So for the shares for NISP, I will have to double check. I don't think Northern is selling like any shares. It's these Berthas and stuff that got in the very beginning that they may sell off part of theirs. So you may have to go directly to that municipality, but I can also double check on that and let Troy know.
Now, a share of that, is that going to be a certain amount of water, or is that simply a share of a totality?
It's I believe it's just like CBT. It's a volumetric. One share is one is a volume. Yeah.
I see.
And
Shares an acre foot, so it's about 337,000.
Well, I was gonna say a share of CBT. Yeah, because everybody is different. It may or may not be.
If it's the same as CBT.
The share of Platteville ditch is what, 1,800 square acre feet? So it's just some ridiculous amount of water.
I think that's pointed out here too.
Oh, is it? Okay.
for the reuse credits, and I can give you a general.
That's all we need, just
Okay.
very.
So, like with the wastewater treatment plant, that you can get a credit for the water that you release from, let me make sure I'm thinking about that right.
That you return to the.
That you return to the river. You get a certain credit for that, which, and I apologize, Brad Hagan is the expert on this water rights stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, so with the CBT, you don't get any credit for that, whereas with the NISP you would, which is a benefit to the NISP.
Well, and with CBT, it's a single-use water. We can't take it and reuse it. There are a lot of municipalities that have the return credit or the ability to use it more than once, so they can take it from their wastewater facility and go directly to a golf course with it and irrigate the golf course with the effluent from the wastewater facility, because they have a secondary or an additional use that's allowed, whereas with our CBT shares, they have to go through the lagoon and straight back to the river. We don't get any credit for them, but we don't get to reuse them again at all. So that's where this NISP is built a little differently than the CBT. For that, 9-hole golf course that the town manager wants to see put in eventually.
That's right.
We have a water park, we have golf, fishing ponds, I mean, seriously. Before I forget, Adam, a couple years back, probably 2012, I think it's listed in here, David and I talked to Brad primarily about our ditch water. And I think the mayor remembers this about utilizing our instead of leasing that to the Sarche family for the farming, using that at that time because our wells and our parks weren't allowed to be turned on. Now, because of the groundwater issues, we now have some use, which gets us through the summer. you know, you got peaks and valleys. At some point, we're gonna have a drought, those wells will be turned back off again. I hate to say it, but that's just reality.
Right.
I remember at the time Brad mentioning, we met with Randy Ray from Central, was it Central? And talked about doing a change of use to the water course, which at that time was about $100,000.
Yes.
I think, in looking at the plan, it wasn't really spelled out, but I think we need to look at that a little further about when that, starting something like that now, and that's a budget conversation with the board.
Hasn't that law already been changed? Use law?
If I may.
Sure.
Please. And I don't know whether the law has changed. I think it has, but I don't know that for sure. Happened to run into Mr. Ray at a volleyball game about 3 weeks ago, and he mentioned that that Brad had been in touch with him, or that Adam had been in touch with him about the plan that was going on, and that we get our potable water from Central Weld County Water District. We also work with Central Colorado Water Conservation District, which is who Randy Ray is the director of. So we work with two different centrals, and they get shortened to centrals, so sometimes I have to clarify as to which one I'm talking about. So typically, if I say Central Weld, that's the potable water system. If I just say Central, that's Central Colorado Water Conservation District. Mr. Ray indicated to me that he would love to sit down with Brad, Troy, and myself to lay some options that might be available. And because we were in the middle of a volleyball match, and I was happy because we had won and he wasn't because they hadn't, we didn't continue the conversation much beyond that. But he did express that by the end of the year, first part of next year, he would like to sit down, present some options to us, and then at that time, we would potentially have something to come back to the board with some ideas, or, I mean, he was talking about, you know, being able to put water into storage, or, you know, with the raw water, with, you know, credits for, that could be used towards continuing to pump our wells, even a drier season, if we had put the water back and recharge credits, and it's all English, but it's all Greek to me, because I don't totally understand where that all goes. So it sounded like he was waiting for us to get our hands on this, and then be able to sit down with Brad and Adam and the Conservation District and see what options may be available to us.
Well, I definitely think pursuing that ditch water, instead of leasing it out for a couple $1,000 a year, we need to utilize that to the fullest extent. Not for immediately, but for future growth and for future droughts.
Yep, definitely.
So Adam, would you real quickly just tell the board what you guys were able to get from the Sarchet family as far as, you know, if we do go into that change of use, we can show consumptive use for that water so that we haven't lost it?
You know,
Or had Brad?
yeah, Brad
Okay.
actually had that conversation
Okay.
with them.
As part of the scope of this project, we have
Right.
asked them, and Brad, because he knows more about it than I do, I happened to read his portion of that report earlier this evening just to see what it was. But basically, the Sarchet family has, on and off again, since the early 1960s, leased that water from the town. To the point that earlier this year, the ditch writer thought that the Sarchet family had bought that water from the town. So he didn't always make sure the lease had been signed before he was releasing the town water to the Sarchet family. But basically, we've got an affidavit now that says the Sarchet family has used that water to consumptive use since the early 1960s. So that gives us, you know, 50-plus years of consumptive use, so somebody can't come in and say they weren't using it, it was going back to the river, so they're hurting us downstream by choosing to try and go through this change. That doesn't mean somebody won't come in and attempt to argue that point, because they will, but we should have a fairly firm leg to stand on to say that we have used that for irrigation to the fact of extinction, basically.
One other thing I just want to sort of point out is with any of these options, it sort of starts, these are just many options, but it's going to really come down to a policy decision on the town's behalf to decide which way you want the town to go concerning the well water. And once those policy decisions are made, then, you know, and probably before those policy decisions, some more in-depth, because each one of these options could be a report twice the size of this. You know, if there does need to be, you know, some more information, more detailed rate studies and yields on specific shares, you know, of raw water, that it could sort of proceed that way. This, we hope, gives you enough information to decide which way the town would like to start looking at more information.
I think in all fairness, I'd like to give it for an opportunity. It's a large, the plan itself is fairly small, but there's a lot of attachments and information to review, so I'd have the board for this next month be able to do that. And then looking at maybe that first meeting in December, if you want to talk to
I'll
Brad, reach out to him to see if, and then you can come back and then do a follow-up.
Yeah.
Because I think the board will probably have some questions based on actually reviewing this document, because we'll be able to get to them earlier than tonight. So
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's okay with the board?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. And then after the northern meeting, that's
Some more information on this.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll have more information on that then too. So this is, I realize for a lot of the board members, this seems like much ado about nothing, but it's probably the most important thing, the most important issue we have in our town. And it is extraordinarily complex. And especially for, you know, Platteville specifically, it goes so much deeper. So we have so many things to think about, and it would take a study session just basically to cover the highlights of what we have going on, really.
Well, it's part of it. Last Thursday, Friday, I was in Denver at a grant management class at Dr. Cobb headquarters, and I was sitting next to a lady from the city of Aurora, and during the break, she mentioned, hey, do you know about a reservoir up there north of Platteville? You're from Platteville, and I said, a reservoir? And it dawned on me, they bought out most of Gilchrist Reservoir. And her sole job was to find federal funding sources to acquire water and infrastructure for water for the city of Aurora. So, I agree with the mayor. I mean, not just our sustainability of existing town, but our future growth. We have to do something sooner than later, start planning on that. So,
Definitely.
and educate ourselves a lot more. And I'm sorry, Brad kind of threw you under the bus because he's the water expert.
I know.
So in December, if we can get Brad,
Yeah.
I mean, don't take me the wrong way.
Oh, no,
But he talks, like David said, another language that
Yeah.
we don't understand.
No, and that's completely fine. I'll stick to designing that Gilchrist Reservoir.
Yeah, you knew all about it. I just told her to stay south of Fort Lupton. So
Yeah.
you know how to take that, so. So, if that's okay with the board, we'll take it up again in December.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Yep.
Thank you, sir, I appreciate it.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have approval of the consent agenda, which consists of regular meeting minutes for October 18th, 2017 special meeting, B&C Refuse Fourth Amendment, FPPA Multi-Employer Deferred Compensation Plan.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda presented.
We have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Carried. Okay. Next action item is the public hearing. So I will at this time, which is 8:13, open the public hearing to consider zoning ordinances 758, 759, 760. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The ordinances are 758, 759, 760 is going to be another topic after this on collections. So this public hearing is for ordinance 758, 759. Plan Commission previously tonight made a recommendation to approve the public zoning for annexations that we recently did along US 85 and along State Highway 66. As a previous Planning Commission, I worked with Mr. Ferris today, because on 85, the third map of the third part of the annexation on 85 includes the Nelson subdivision that has been changed, so it's very clear when Mary records these maps with the county that the Nelson subdivision still primarily stays ag holding and not public. I don't think CMC would like that. Otherwise, I don't have a lot more to add. This is in my terms of formality, because the statutory requirement doesn't change anything that we've done so far. The annexations have gone forward without anyone contesting them. And that's all I have for the board, unless you have any questions for me.
And I do stand corrected, 760 is a separate one.
And I would ask, it's one public hearing, but each ordinance would have to be approved by separately by the board.
Right.
Not combined.
Does anybody have anything? Does our audience have anything?
No, sir.
Okay, well, at this time, I will close the public hearing at 8:14 and ask for a motion.
I move to approve ordinance 758, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville zoning 7 parcels of state highway number 66 as public pursuant to section 16 and 570 of the Platteville Municipal Code.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on this. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, I would entertain a motion on the next one.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 759, an ordinance of the Board of Trustees of the Town of Platteville zoning 3 parcels of the state highway highway 85 as public pursuant to section 16570 of the Platteville Municipal Code.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on this issue. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Next, ordinance 760. Mr. Rankin.
You want to close the public hearing? What is your?
We closed it.
You're good, okay. Ordinance 760, I asked Ken, our town attorney, to look into this earlier this year. Deb and I spoke, Deb's our court clerk, about collecting fines. I can't remember if this year or last year, there's been some legislative changes where the municipal judges cannot issue warrants any longer for failure to pay. So that kind of tied our hands on getting some of these funds back that the court or the judge disposed on some of these cases. So Kenner simply went in and did a brief amendment to Chapter 2 in enacting so we could legally enforce this, a collections process for those who don't pay their court fines and their court costs is allocated by the judge. So this is what this is for tonight. I ask the board to approve it for our court system.
You cannot, if someone refuses to pay the fines, I understand that a bench warrant can't be issued anymore. You can't attach a driver's license or anything?
I don't know those details.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I don't think Mary can help me because I don't think she was part of our conversation with Devin, but when I talked to Kendra about this in Devin, there's a lot of people out there that are revoked or restricted. The police department can attest to that, getting it back to court. But the process just goes on and on and on. You can keep finding them again and again and again. You can restrict them, that doesn't mean they're going to pay.
Right.
So I guess that's the easiest way for me to explain it.
We would put this out for RFPs if we approve this?
We already use a collection agency on water, not water, but what do we use collections for already? Do you remember? We have,
water,
not water, but there's something else that we use collections for, but we can use the same one.
Okay, so we already have,
We don't use them very often, but we do,
okay.
What percentage do they pay?
up to 25.
Do we have a lot
Is that
of people
pretty
that don't
standard?
pay? Probably.
It's starting to build, I think, a little bit. We're trying to shop around for the best collections we can find.
get what you pay for when it comes to collections.
With the new laws, they are severely hampered.
Well, there's, it goes deeper than that about having to provide public defenders for municipal court clients and so forth, and I just don't want to go into that yet.
Okay. So I guess this is, of all the alternatives we have, this is probably the most preferable.
It gives the court some teeth, at least a little bit.
Okay. Okay. And if this isn't, if this turns out to not work well, we can revisit this in a year and see if somebody's come up with a brilliant idea.
Something's better than nothing.
Agreed. Anybody have any questions or comments on this? I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve ordinance 760, ordinance of the town of the board of trustees of Town of Platteville, amending Article 8 of Chapter 2 of the Platteville Municipal Code by the addition of a new section 2-8-220 authorizing use of collection agencies to collect unpaid municipal court fines and costs presented.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on this issue. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Well, now if we go speeding through town, we'll know it ain't gonna be pretty. Okay, next, D, police radio purchase and installation request. Mr. Rankin.
Thank you, Carl. Do you want to add to this? 'Cause the board already approved earlier the handheld radios, and this is for the police units.
Sure, so, our handhelds, so far, they're working out really good, and that's if we're out of the cars. These ones that we're hoping to get, and taking advantage of the Weld County 20% off by the end of the year is for the in-car radios, which we would need 7 of. Our existing ones, much like the handheld radios, will expire at the end of 2019, which means that they'll work absolutely okay until then. After that, they won't work anymore, they won't maintenance them anymore, they won't work on them anymore. So this is the other half. The first was handhelds, and this is for the in-car radios. And we were hoping to take advantage of, like I said, the 20% off that Weld County has to offer through 2018, or 2017, sorry.
Do you have the budget for it?
Yes,
Yeah, one
it is in the
training
budget.
and equipment fund.
And a couple months ago from me, Carl, when the board approved the handhelds, we mentioned bringing this back to the board, take advantage of that 20%, and I indicated, or put in your packet, the emails from Wes, from Advanced Wireless, it looks like, that these 70 units would be $19,445 instead of $25,580, so there's a good savings there. And then roughly about another $2,500 for install, so.
Each?
Total.
That's in total?
Total. Yeah. There's removal, $315 each, installation, $17.92 each, and then they just install parts and pieces, which is standard. With a total amount of $21,902. And Carl and I have been watching the budget and law enforcement equipment training fund, and also been writing some tickets, part of the contract for Gilchrist, and for RE1 going to that. It'll deplete a little bit, but we'll still have about 25,000 going in next year, so it'll still be fine.
You know, Chief, it was only a year or two ago when they were $16,000 in debt, and I was harping on that completely. You have come a long way, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I don't have a problem with it if that's how Carl chooses to play with his money. That's fine with me.
Move to approve the purchase and installation of 7 APX 6500 mid-power mobile radio units and accessories in the amount not to exceed $21,902.65.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Larry Clark,
Aye.
Adrian Sandoval,
Aye.
Kim Nelson,
Aye.
Michael Cowper,
Aye.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Troy Plum.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. I would say don't spend it all in one place, but I know it's precisely what you're going to do. Okay, next, water auction discussion, Mr. Rankin.
I want to agree with Mr. Brand on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the board. This, and I just printed the cover sheet, I did not print the entire 35-page packet.
You can have mine.
But basically, I'm trying to remember, 67, that's the number I was looking for. There is an auction happening next Wednesday at 2 p.m. They're getting rid of some land and water rights at this auction. It's 67 shares of CBT water that are going to be up. It's my understanding, reading through some of this, that they will break that up. Basically, they'll sell all or some to the highest bidder, and then go to the next highest bidder and sell what sell what you're looking for, and work their way down until they're done with all 67 shares. My guess is that the town, what we would be willing to spend for a share of CBT water right now, more than likely won't even make the low portion of the bid list, but we don't know, so we wanted to present this to the board and see if there's some interest in, for lack of a better term, putting a lowball bid out there for some shares and see if we end up getting them or not.
And is my math correct, that's probably gonna sell between $15 and $20 million?
I haven't run the numbers on the whole thing, Steve. So.
I'm guessing probably that'll bring 30,000 a share.
Well, last year, I think there was another auction that came up that they brought to the board, and when it's all said and done, they came close to paying full market value for the share.
Right.
But it's still putting out a bid for 10 shares for 10,000, just so you can get lucky. You just don't know. It's not gonna happen unless, you just never know.
Well, I'm going to Vegas the end of the month, I mean, it would be just about as good.
Well, obviously, we couldn't go bid something like that, $10,000 a share, we couldn't even bid on, the town manager could bid on a half a share with what his authority is as far as dollars wise. I think you're gonna see somewhere between, I think it's gonna be between 25,000 and 27,000 a share. It might go as high as 30, market right now is 27.5 to 28. When you're buying bulk, you can get it down into the 27, 26.5 range, maybe. So
is this sealed bid or open auction?
I have not even taken the time to go through it 100%, Steve. It's an online auction that we can go in, and I believe it's a live auction.
That'll be open.
So what I'm hoping, because we actually have the northern meeting that same day, I'm hoping that I can go in and put in an automatic bid of, 10 shares at $10,000 a piece, or whatever the board is interested in and willing to spend. So we just, we know it's a long shot to get it for what we can probably afford right now, but we didn't know if the board was interested in us pursuing that or not. So we just wanted to throw it out there. What's that?
What do we have available?
In the budget, I didn't
Nothing in
bring
the budget, but we have reserve funds.
Okay.
A couple $100,000, over $300,000.
Well, doesn't this have to be purchased with enterprise money? Okay.
Water fund. The cash fund, the water fund, minus restrictions, which is your system investment fees, just now $300,000. You have about $400,000 in system investment.
So if we were to put in bid for 10 shares at $20,000 a share,
That would be your 200,000.
that'd be 200,000. If we got it, we got a deal.
We have to make up for 55 shares, really, too. We have to bear that in mind.
You have to what, with 55 shares?
We basically, how would I explain that? When that final phase of Rogers Farm, that's at 55 shares, those shares had been basically sold how many years ago? 15?
It was back in around 2000.
Yeah. And they would have been negotiated at that time for
That was a water issue back in the day.
Yes. So we have to account, that water's already spoken for, where it was a surplus for us in the past. So while we still own the shares, the water is now spoken for by 55 homes.
Right.
Where it basically, it wasn't a surplus, but it was
How many
close.
shares just those 50 homes taken?
One share per home.
The consumption is what Troy.
You're not short water, it's just that those 55 shares
Are
are
now
now being
spoken for.
consumed by the new subdivision.
Yes.
By the existing dedication.
Yes. And not very many, it hasn't been very many years ago now that would have put us into some extraordinarily severe water restrictions if we had have had that burden on the system then.
Well, that's neither here nor there at this point.
No, but it is something to bear in mind. So we basically need to replace those 55 shares.
Why is that? You own the water,
But the
and
use
it's
is already
being
consumed.
so
And
there's
we're
some
all-
reason why we need to acquire the equivalent of 55 shares that aren't being spoken for?
No, the whole thing, it goes a little bit further than that.
Well, help me out here.
We have to provide so much water, and in a dry year, we may come in 50% appropriation. But that doesn't mean people are gonna quit using 70%. So we have to have the water shares to back that up, the additional
Surplus.
usage, even though the appropriation
Surplus is
was
Are we
higher.
required to
Is
do
what
that
you're
if the
suggesting you
allocation is 50%? Wouldn't we just be required
Restricted now.
to provide them with 50%?
We don't, we can't turn it off, no, we have to restrict.
We have to restrict.
We have to restrict.
Yeah,
So
well,
we
that's
can't
what I
turn it
mean.
off.
Yeah.
If
You
they
can't
get
shut
that
it off, but you put restrictions that you can't water it on.
Yeah, back in, I think, 02, 03, during the drought year, right before I came here, the town had no watering outside. They had severe restrictions because of lack of water.
Yeah.
Those are worst case scenarios, but.
So, once again, getting back to it, if we were to commit to 10 shares, 20,000, I mean, to me, it's ridiculous to say 10 shares, 10,000 each, because you know they're not gonna happen.
Exactly.
Maybe a little less ridiculous to say 10 shares, 20,000 apiece. I mean, our chances of getting lucky, I guess maybe double. But, I mean, I would say.
If we could get it for that, it'd be a heck of a bargain in
And
today's
we
price.
it would be, we'd be getting a steal. That's just my feeling on it.
And the likelihood.
Water ain't gonna get any freaking cheaper.
The likelihood to prevail at 20,000 is probably slim to none. Is that right?
It's hard to believe that the large users would let that go by.
Sure they would.
Well,
Aurora, whoever, I mean, they outbid you for $1,000 a share if.
And
they
still
see-
a deal.
If they see the gavel coming down at 20, another 1,000 isn't gonna stop them.
When the housing market's so high, people are gonna be paying, these developers are gonna fork in 20, 30,000 a share for water, but they're gonna roll that over, the homeowner's gonna buy that share for 35 when it gets that closer to their house.
Right.
So all these municipalities along Firestown and me, they're gonna.
It's a nice fantasy to think you're gonna get it for 20,000, but the reality is it's not gonna happen. Unless you're willing to pay up to the market price. Because there's plenty of people out there looking for it.
And my suggestion, if we're talking about paying market price, I just wouldn't bid on anything, because our budget won't hold that.
So you're just asking for us to give you to say, okay, you go ahead and try to bid on 10 shares at this amount.
Any amount of shares, any amount of money, it's just something, it's an opportunity,
We just see if we can be competitive to purchase them. If it's over our price range, then you're not gonna bid on it, and we don't have to worry about it.
we don't have to do anything, it's just water comes up and there's no set price, but we know from past options that it'll go for close to $1,000, unless we get real lucky.
we do have people periodically throughout the year. I had a broker call me 6 months ago and say, hey, I've got, 14 shares available, are you interested? And I told him that if we could get it for 10 a share, absolutely, and he laughed and hung up the phone, and at that time, I knew that there was nothing budgeted. I know that the reserves are there. Until 2 years ago, we typically had put $100,000 in the budget in the water fund every year to acquire water if we had the opportunity. Right now, if we have a single-family home come in, or 1 or 2 single-family homes come in, the town used to accept cash in lieu of, because we would take that cash and put it with the town cash and go buy some more shares. We insist on them bringing and dedicating the shares to us at this point, so we don't have to go through the process of acquiring those. They just have to bring us the water.
If we're setting aside $100,000 to buy water, granted, ain't gonna buy a lot of water, but if the opportunity comes up to buy a share here or there, we should be taking that $100,000 and buying water. I mean, like I said, it ain't gonna get any cheaper, and it's shrinking fast.
In the last couple of years, we just didn't budget $100,000 because the water fund wasn't doing too much.
Well, yeah, I can understand that, but my opinion is, if we've got money, and we can afford it, even if we only go buy 1 share of water, we need to be buying water.
Something to consider. We could spend this amount of money, but if we have an opportunity with this NIST, if we have a municipality that doesn't feel like they need a certain amount of the share of NIST that they have, that is the money we would use.
Well, and I agree,
So if we lose one,
would be something we need to go after, we need to really seriously think about going after, because
I agree with that.
we've got to get shared water. Even if we can only buy 1, whatever, buy it, and keep buying it.
I think we'd be more competitive doing 5 shares at 25 than we would 10 shares at 20. But it's just,
If that would get us 5 shares of water, then I'm all for it.
well, I think it would be closer. I have no idea how this is gonna go. Like I said, the last year and a half ago, whatever it was, when there was another auction, water went from between $29.5 and $31.5. I don't remember for sure what it went for. Now, market value has come down. We had some people acquire water last year for $27.5 a share, and they only brought in 1 or 2 shares. So, the 25 might get us something.
well, the gambles are 67, so having someone out there buying all 67 at top dollar is probably unlikely. Somebody going in and buying 20 shares at 30,000 is likely. But like David said, the way this works is then the next highest bid, how many shares they want, then the next highest. We could get lucky. After 60-some shares are sold in the last 5 or 6 shares, we may be the last 5 and the highest bid. You just don't know. But
the only thing is, with 35 years' experience of going to auction sales, I can tell you that will create a feeding frenzy. And there's going to be people from all over the United States are going to be at that. So I have no problem with standing there being ready to bid, but and I remember I said the same thing the last time, didn't I?
Well, and at this point,
I'm a broken record.
we wanted to present it to the board to ask you what direction you wanted us to go. In light of what Mr. Smith had to say tonight about the NIST project, the mayor is exactly correct in that if we have the opportunity to get into that, can we get into that for $20,000 or $18,000 a share? I don't know, but there again, that water's not available for a certain number of years. We'll know more next week.
8 to 10 years
So that is, it's entirely up to the board. If you choose to give us a direction to go with this, we'll be happy to try and run with it and go from there.
I defer to the board on this one.
Well, I think you should go with it and see what you can get for a decent price. If it gets where we can get 5 shares, I think that would be 5 or 10 shares at a decent price. We should do it.
Well, and like I said, if we're gonna try to get some water, put a decent bid out there for,
Something where we
something,
can actually-
and where we may stand a chance and try to
You want
get
a
some water.
maximum price? Is that what you're
Well,
asking for?
I mean, if we were, if the board were to say, okay, you got $250,000, and you wanna sit down there and go through the bidding process, and you have time to bid, I know you said you got a meeting to go to, but if we can get into the process to where you got $250,000, get as many shares as you can, and just do it. Like I said, water ain't getting any cheaper, and it's going way fast.
You want to go as high as 250,000?
With this NISP, when that clay reservoir starts building, I personally think water's gonna get quite a bit cheaper for a short duration.
We'll do more supply for this demand.
There'll be a ton more supply for a short period of time, and that will affect price because that's just supply and demand. That, we need to think about that and the NISP thing. I realize it's in the future, but that's really kind of what we're discussing anyways.
Well, we can go 200,000, and then you can play with that, but then find out when we can purchase that NISP money, water to.
I can do some research on that and find out what is available on that NISP and that kind of thing. We've got some contacts at Northern Water with Sherry Rasmussen and some others over there that can probably point me in the right direction, because we don't, technically, when we buy CBT water, we don't buy it from Northern Water, but I typically talk with Sherry, and she points me in the direction of somebody that has some that they're trying to sell. So, and that's how we ended up hearing about this auction, is Northern Water put this out to the users. They gave this auction house the list of users and that kind of thing. If the board chooses to give us a dollar figure of $200,000, personally, I don't think that, because I know I've seen it in the last year at 27.5, in my mind, I wouldn't pay any more than that, absolutely, per share. You know, if it's going up 28, 29, I think we could go back out on the market and probably find it for 27.5 or 27,000. And if the board wants to authorize 200,000, we can try it here, see what happens, and if we don't get it, we can hang on to that to look at this, or we can go back out on the market and try and find some.
We need to delineate how we're going to do this then. Are you going to authorize David to spend $200,000 and just whatever it brings, just buy $200,000?
Well, no, I'm
worth,
not saying, you know, go to the top of the heap.
I go
But
shares.
I'm saying don't be ridiculous and say, let's throw out a $10,000 bid per share.
Okay, 25 shares, 200,000.
Yeah.
So is that, so you need to,
It's 70, just over 7 shares.
you need to give a per share guideline then, with a maximum.
Well, he said last year the market was 27.5,
Somewhere in that neighborhood, yeah.
so with that, that
20
gives
to
us
25
shares.
a share, if you can get it, great.
Typically,
If not, we just buy it from a broker and go at market value.
We'll just, you know, and when these brokers call, I mean, see what they're selling it for.
Okay.
Because we need it.
you generally can buy it privately cheaper than you can on an auction.
Well, if that's the case, then if we put it at 20, if we put our max bid at 25, we're not overpaying. And if we get lucky, we get lucky.
I see.
I'd be comfortable with 25. There's no reason to pay more. Right.
So 8 shares at 25 or $200,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't look at me.
That's not right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
up to 8 shares at maximum 25,000 per.
Okay.
Do you need to make
So then we'll still have
a,
100.
I like a motion in a second.
So we'll still have 100 left in the fund?
Roughly.
Roughly, okay.
So-
Can I get a second it?
you're authorizing 8 shares, maximum $25,000 per share for an aggregate amount of $200,000. Is that correct? Could we have a motion
I'll make a
delineating
motion.
that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I did.
Oh, you, I beg your pardon, I didn't hear.
Adrian said second.
So moved.
So seconded.
Okay. May I have a roll call, please?
Adrian Sandoval,
Aye.
Kim Nelson,
Aye.
Michael Cooper,
Aye.
Hope Morris,
Yes.
Fred Blum,
Aye.
Larry Clark.
Aye.
Okay. Cancellation of the November 1st, 2017 regular meeting of the Board of Trustees.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Doesn't anybody want to come to the meeting? Well, that one's short and sweet.
Will Mary cook a turkey dinner for us?
That'll be the week after.
Leftover turkey dinner.
Okay. Reports. Police Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything at all, but I needed to add to my report. Us officers are working 6 to 6, and hopefully by the end of the month, we'll have one out of FTO and another one hired, so we're making it work now in the meantime, and that's about it. I'm happy to answer any questions, though, if you guys have any.
You work day shift today?
No, I didn't. I go back in the morning.
Was your day shift officer relatively busy?
Scott?
What happened on 85 this morning?
A fatality, 17, the one yesterday, 17,
There was
and
a 2 on 66 today?
that's when, I'm sorry, did you say 85? The one on 66 and 17, somebody died. We have an overwhelming amount of accidents right now. Just the way it goes.
But which is
Worse in the
normal?
wintertime too, right?
It'll be way worse in the wintertime. And November, more lives are lost on the road than any other month. I don't know why either. I don't know if it's because of snow and ice or what, but November's for sure the...
We're not used to driving on snow.
That's right, they don't have state trucks. When you had those busy times, you got one guy on shift, are they getting help to get through?
Yeah, I mean...
With the state patrol and the county?
Yeah, we get help from CSP and Weld County, and, I mean, if it's a fatality or a serious accident, I mean, they'll be out there for sometimes hours until everything's all done. We for sure won't let them have the whole thing and not help them. If it's a major accident, then we utilize their resources, and they can take all the accurate measurements, so they have the resources, but, we're there until the whole thing's done. But yeah, we get help. If they're available.
Do we have to write reports? I'm sorry, Mary.
Go ahead.
Are we responsible for the reports then being that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so even though we're out there helping them, then we have to come back
Well,
and
that's
do
part of the job.
reports and.
Well,
Adrian, that's part of the job.
I'm just learning. I can't make decisions unless I have educated.
Sure, so it's essentially our report. They would maybe help us with the measurements on the accident, but we still write the entire thing. It's still our baby.
Sure.
So they just help us, so.
Okay.
But yeah, we've been having a lot of accidents again.
Carl, I have a question.
Sure.
In the breakdown here, you have 2 incidents of shots fired. Can you give any insight as to anything, information about those?
If I'm recalling those right, it's something as easy as, and I can't let you have a home ad, like the numerics or an address.
Oh, no, I'm not interested in that anyhow.
So if somebody accidentally shoots a handgun in their house, or shoots outside their window on the highway at someone else, for example, that would be an example of shots fired, yeah.
And would those descriptions be a reflection of the last month's activities?
Yeah. Yes, so, all these numbers are from the month of October, so.
Okay.
Now, you can request a copy of the reports also. We are more than.
No, I just,
I don't know right offhand exactly,
I think Larry's asking if there's a concern we need to be aware of.
Oh, no.
Larry.
We watch the TV.
Oh, no, I'm heavily armed myself, so, I'm quite capable of taking care of that.
No, it's nothing to worry about. If there's ever anything on
Somebody
here that
like on
you
the
guys...
4th of July shooting something off in the
Yeah.
backyard.
Right. No, there's nothing, if there was anything that you guys should be worried about at all, I'll for sure absolutely let you guys know.
Yeah, I just happened to follow that in your reports from month to month, and I've never got asked about it before. But they aren't necessarily assaults, per
No.
se. These are just random discharges.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
That brings me to something that just occurred to me. If you fire a weapon on 66 somewhere before the St. Vrain River, does that violate a city ordinance against shooting a gun?
Yes, if you shoot it on the highway, that's our
Or
highway.
standing in the bar pit?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't think that anyway, so.
Well,
yeah, but a little-
shooting from a vehicle.
How about going out country roads?
Prairie dogs pop their heads up all over the place. That just occurred to me. Does anybody have anything else for the chief?
Thank you.
Thanks, Carl, we made you stay for the festivities, just for that. Public Works Director, Mr. Brand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In light of our conversation tonight, I'd like to bring your attention real quick to the chart on my report that's the amount of water that we used this year from the CBT shares. Basically, what happens is this is a reflection of the 80% allotment that Northern gave us for those Colorado Big Thompson shares this year. So, last year, I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but I think we were in the 61, 62% range, but we only had a 70% allotment last year. So, the numbers, in some ways, we can't compare year to year because you don't know, when Mr. Rankin was referring to a 50% allotment sometimes in a dry year or something like that, that's where those numbers come from. So the town owns 852 shares of CBT water, but because by contract, we have to give 20% of that on top of what we used for shrinkage to Central Weld, who processes our water. So if we got the full 852, we would lose 20% of that. But in reality, we never get the full 852 because we get, like this year, we got 80% of the 852, and then we got to give 20% of that right off the top by contract to Central. So when I'm saying that we used, 57%, that's 57% of our 80%. So
That includes the 20% that we have to give them, and that 57%?
Yes, correct, yep. That, the used number that we have down in there, they calculate at 1.2% of what went through our meter. So that is 120% of what went through our meter. So the 57% that we used included the 20% that we owed them.
Oh, it does, okay.
You're doing too bad then, huh?
So we did okay with the year where they gave us the 80%. If they cut that by 30%, all of a sudden this number is up a lot closer to 100% of the shares that we had to use.
We got fairly close a couple of years.
We did.
But to be fair, that was before we were allowed to turn those wells on.
True.
In a fair world, that has to be said. David, NISP, you're closer to that than I am. If this, is that going to be governed, are those allotments going to be governed by Northern also? if that goes into an allotment system, will that be covered by Northern? Can you answer that?
I can't answer that because I haven't been involved with it enough. I mean, NISP, for those that don't know, stands for the Northern Integrated Supply Project, is where the.
I would imagine they would be, because that's.
But I believe, yes, Northern has been pushing this whole thing through. That has been in the works for like 17 years.
Everybody.
And at the cost of a little over $1 million a year that Northern has invested in that project, or the stockholders in the NISP project have invested in that project. When they actually go to build it, the numbers are staggering. They're in the billions or even close to $1 trillion when it's all said and done. Now, I was wrong with the trillion. I think it's 492 billion or something like that.
But it's going to be a staggering amount of storage water.
It will be. But part of that is they have to reroute 287 up to Laramie and everything else because they bought the property and they're using that natural ridge and damming it and it's really a very intricate project. I would invite any of you to stop over at Northern Water in Berthoud. They would be happy to give you a tour, give you a map, kind of show you what's going on. Next week, Northern Water is having their Northern Users Meeting, as I mentioned earlier. It happens to be at the ballroom in Greeley. I've RSVP'd for the mayor, Troy, and myself at this point. If there's anybody else that's interested in actually going to that meeting, I probably could still get a reservation, and they have walk-ins on a regular basis. So it's Wednesday, the 15th. I think that's Wednesday.
Yeah. Are they still having, does Northern still put on that 3-day symposium that I went to?
They haven't recently, but they might. Every summer, Northern does tours of their facilities on the west slope, their facilities on the east slope. They charter a bus, they take you over, they give you a history lesson, they feed you lunch, they show you the facilities. I would highly recommend that any of you board members that are just even the slightest bit interested, that you would take the opportunity to go do that. It's a very educational opportunity. They do east slope one day, west slope the other day, so it ends up being 2 different days during the summer if you have the opportunity to go. But they do talk about the NISP project. They will talk about the Windy Gap Firming project, which is some additional water that is going to be the new reservoir that's going in just west of Carter Lake, south of Loveland, north of Berthoud. There's quite a bit of information that's disseminated that they do a spring and a fall users meeting every year to give updates on those projects and that kind of thing. And I typically try to get to both of those just to get some updates on what's going on. But now, until recently, when visiting with Civil Resources, didn't realize that there was NISP shares still available for us to even be considering. So that's something that I will be working to gather some more information on and find out about. I don't have any idea, the original, I think there was 13 communities that were tied into that project originally.
Yeah, and then they added some.
So, and I can't speak to who they are or how many or anything like that, so I've probably got a flyer back in my office somewhere that explains it, but I didn't bring it with me tonight. So.
If we could involve ourselves in that NISP, I think long-term, it would benefit us. It's going to be cheap. It's going to be really expensive, but I think long-term, it would. And to expand on what David's saying, that Windy Gap project and stuff, it's really complex, but it's extraordinarily interesting. If you get an opportunity to go to that symposium, if they have that again. If you enjoy complex water things, you love it.
At this point, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to answer any questions about my report. Otherwise, I don't have anything else to add.
I see the aerators are just blowing and going.
Seem to be working fine.
Did you get the other fisher fixed?
It's on its way back.
Okay.
It's not on the pond yet.
Do you have an opening for that one, or is that one for backup?
No, we don't have any backup fishers.
Okay.
So yeah, that one will go back on the pond.
Let me ask you, and I realize that we're running a little late, but I'm curious, now, after all these years, what has it been? 4 years since we bought those fishers, 5 years?
Yes, I believe so. I think it was 11, 12, somewhere in there.
With everything that we know now, would you buy the fishers again?
Yes.
Would you? Okay. I didn't know, the effectiveness of those has been questionable for a long time. I didn't
Well,
know what your-
when we ran exclusively the fishers, we still met permit. We didn't pass the smell test, but we met permit. So, I believe the fishers have helped us with the directional flow on the ponds to be able to keep some of the icing off of there. They don't de-ice it as well as I would like them to, but they de-ice it better than we were when we just had the splashers on there.
That was what I was looking for. Does anybody else have anything?
Trujillo, their projects,
Yes.
what do you think of the quality of the work?
The speed of the work has not been up to snuff. The quality of the work, once the project is done, seems to be very good.
Okay.
They are supposed to be wrapping up by Friday of this week with the
Fence right over here.
fence up here and the last cul-de-sac of sidewalk, so.
Okay.
Thanks everyone for their extra effort for the dedication.
I will pass that along.
They don't like being acknowledged.
Okay. There's a few other people in the administration that don't like either.
I was gonna ask him if he was the potter of the kettle, but.
Well, at least during dedication, he didn't just turn around and walk off, so I appreciate that.
All lines were there.
Okay, thank you, David. Next, we have our attorney, who provided it in,
Written form, she was going to be here tonight, but she's been under the weather. And she said her office manager sent her home from the office, so, well, right, I'm here. Because I don't want that spread around.
right.
We're gonna talk to her
No problem.
probably on the phone.
Okay. If nobody has anything for David, we will go right to the town manager. It's going to illuminate us.
I'm not sure about that. As far as my report's concerned, if you have any questions, please feel free. I did send the last draft, I call it the final draft to this day. The numbers are in the positive. It's a balanced budget per se, at least until now, because I'm going to hand out. And what I mean by that is I've had David Green not test the benefits and wages section of the budget. So those numbers for medical benefits or health insurance for wages are the same from last year or this year going to next year. Road plan, take one fast enough. What I didn't realize, and Mary help me with this, is that our open enrollment for the employees is this month. And it expires with 21st. Our next meeting's not till December 5th. So I'm not asking for an action item, but this is something that I need to discuss with the board to implement into the budget, and then you would approve it as you adopt the budget. The last few years, the board has picked a plan for the employees to be covered on for the individual plans. And then the employee can opt to bring their children, their spouse, or their whole entire family. This current year, Plan B, and this is with our current insurance carrier, is in the middle of the page, Plan B, town's paying $539.43 per employee, and the increase is 4.9%, so that would be $565.86, which is a roughly about $9,000 total increase with all employees combined annually for the budget. Okay. The plan, there's two other plans that are offered. We have one employee that takes Plan A, and they pay the difference each month. We have one employee that takes Plan D, and they don't get the refund, they just choose to take Plan D, and the town pays less for that one employee. Because on average, we pay $539. Plan D this year was $513. Plan A was $594. So So the town contributes $539.43 this year per employee, and if the employee wants a different plan, they pay the difference in that plan. Okay? So what I'm asking the board, and it's not an action item, it's just a direction, is I'm assuming the board would continue taking Plan B, looking at those numbers, to provide for the employees. If you want to take Plan A, that would add another $10,000 annually to the budget. So instead of a $9,000 increase, it'd be about $19,000 increase if you add up all the numbers, which I did this morning. Plan D I don't recommend because, like myself, I'll use myself as an example, I'd have to pay $2,500 out of pocket before insurance kicks in for anything. I would not want to do that. The one employee who does that has other reasons why, so that's fine. So, what I'm getting at is I have to have this, so American send out notice to employees to get enrolled, and we do it online. Irene did get information back from the county plan, and unfortunately, they provided 3 plans, and keep in mind, we're going to be paying $565 roughly per employee next year, per individual. Family is $1,756. And then, of course, you have just children or just spouse. They have a plan B100, and those numbers for individuals, $763, $1,430 with children, or $1,756 with spouse, with no benefit. Plan B1500, $726 for an individual, $1,362 with children, $1,672 with families, so there's really no difference there. And as far as what it pays, it's fairly similar. Then they have a PPO similar to our Plan D, and is in individuals $591, adding children is $1,107, and families $1,362. So there's a much higher copay or deductible. So
That's the one everybody was talking about.
Milliken is on this, and the town of Milliken must subsidize those employees. There's no way the employees can get $200.
Which plan, Plan A? Is that what you're talking about?
No, from the county plan. And I don't know the details to what Milliken does. But their town board must subsidize somehow.
Was that hearsay from another employee, or?
I know one of those employees.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, just curious.
Yeah. So it was somewhat hearsay, but it's coming from direct source.
Sure.
So my first recommendation is, we currently are paying for Plan B, as the town is, continue with that. What I like about Plan B is if you look at it, and thank you, Mary, for putting this together, the co-pays are a little bit higher, prescriptions are a little higher, which they're on here, not much. What kills me is, like, my youngest got hurt in a baseball tournament. Swallowing $400 to walk into emergency rooms, not fun, but it's what it is.
I'm sitting here I'm looking at Plan D. I'm trying to figure out why that is not a good plan. I realize the deductible has to be met, and then it's zero after that. But it looks to me like if you use insurance, that would be cheaper. Am I missing something?
So, well, where the copay comes into play, you go to a doctor visit, under Plan D, you're gonna pay the whole thing.
Right, which is what I have.
But instead of paying so if you have 5 doctor visits, instead of paying just $30 a pop, you might end up paying $150 a pop and until you meet your deductible.
But if you, let's just say you have $8,000 in medical bills that year, Plan D would be more beneficial for you than Plan B.
Insurance comes down to talking to all the employees, they use it different ways.
Yeah,
True,
absolutely. That's
granted,
personal
I'm just.
decision,
And that's why, I was ready to come to make a recommendation, if the board would pay for Plan A, that employees would have 3 options to pay for, one come out of their own pocket. But I'm not gonna make that because that's doubling what the town's already paying.
doubling?
Well, Plan B is gonna increase the budget I gave you by $9,000.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay,
If
it's gonna
you go to-
increase it by another 10.
It's gonna increase it by another 10,000, so it'll be 19,000 on top of what your budget currently says, so that's gonna reduce that revenue expenditure amount to about 10,000.
I think we should probably stick with Plan B. They have to, stay with B.
And we're gonna keep looking for their health insurance plans, we just have to.
What do your people say? What is their preference?
Replace and repeal.
Unfortunately, we're all paying a lot.
It's obviously having a benefit where the town pays for the employees' health insurance premiums is tremendous, we love that. Recruiting and maintaining people that develop and grow, they get married, they have children, and they need insurance, it gets tough. Recruiting them, as Mayor, we talked about, 2 or 3 finance directors ago, we had a guy that we offered the job, and he looked at the plan and said, no way. I know Carl deals with it, David deals with it when they're recruiting employees. You're gonna get the young, fresh ones, I'm not trying to be inappropriate, we're gonna get someone that's here for short term to learn, and they're gonna move on. Not everybody, I mean, you have us here at the table, but we're in a different part of our lives.
But that's why we created longevity.
Exactly. Truly appreciate it. And that reduces, like, I'm gonna use David Cross there next to me. They both, like me, get paid the full maximum longevity benefit. We've been over 10 years, so that helps tremendously. You get some here 2 years in our same situation, it doesn't no good because they have to earn that. Are they willing to stay here 5, 7, 10 years to earn that? I'm saying they won't, but that's a different topic of conversation. But this tonight, I just need some guidance on it. I'm just assuming that we'll just leave as is, Plan B. And I'll have David Green later this week put that back in the budget, and then Mary Beth and those employees go online and start enrolling their families. But that works.
Less than $30 a month increase? I'll take that any day.
4.9 is what this is. Is that right, Mary? 4.9.
That's 40, 50, 60, 25, almost $26. $26. That's laughable. What did yours go up, Kim?
$160 a month. Mine went up $80 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Far be it for me to criticize 4 point something.
I'll work with Mr. Green on that one. And then lastly, Troy got up with me earlier this week about, I really never gave out the results, and I asked Mary to give me this document. These are, the comp plan showed the survey results in its own way, but to me, I didn't take as much out of it. Mary put this together, I think this is beneficial. If you want to grab one and pass it around, I think I have one up there. And it talks about what you like most about Platteville, or what would you most like to change about Platteville.
Does this include the sticky notes on,
I don't think so, Mary, does it? Sticky notes?
remember all the sticky notes on those boards?
No.
No, that was, wasn't that the
That was
downtown?
for the Main Street.
That was the Main
thing.
Street,
Yeah.
But that was, you know, we talked to, that was up at the same time while the conference stuff was up.
Mhm.
So I was just curious.
Yeah, no, because these were the specific questions used in the comp plan survey.
Gotcha.
Melissa put this out too.
The thing about this, if you look at residents, yeah. When we did the business appreciation lunch, when many of those were not Platteville residents, they were, and I still look into that because they work here, so how do you attract employees to our area? But then also, and there's some local businesses, like Shirley Davis, I'll mention her name. And then, will we get, how many from the mail out? We mailed them out.
54.
54 of the utility bills. So this,
we gave 3 opportunities for that, for this, didn't we?
and we also did it the
4,
middle.
okay,
middle
4.
So I think this gives you kind of a picture of at least the response. My suggestion, and Mary and I was talking today, is maybe have Mary and I put together, if you really want to know the pulse as we're moving forward, we're talking about water, we're talking about growth, we're talking about things that are coming up, do one ourselves. in-house and simplify it. Because when we did a survey years ago about whether the town wanted marijuana or not, we had to turn out almost 200 responses. And we did that locally ourselves. Maybe that was just a topic, I don't know.
Yeah, that's
That was a hot button issue then, and probably still
But
is.
it's something where maybe in January, February, where things are slow and for lack of a better term, people are kind of working for something, so you may fill out surveys, turn back to the town board.
Did you have to slow?
I said people.
Oh, okay.
I'm a firm believer in straw polls, I really am. I mean, that's the best way to know what direction you need to take.
Because the summer's so busy, and that's when we did most of the comprehensive plan. We tried to do an open house at a basketball game, and it's just, I think the best response we've got is put on the website. Maybe where people can maybe print off and respond, or then send us something out, but I think it'd be worthwhile. And we'll draft something up and then give it to the board for next week to take a look at. But I think it's worthwhile because I'm not clear myself based upon the comp plan response. Because it's almost contradictory, because there was one question that said, I like in a small town, people told me we don't want to grow. Well, the second question says, we need the grocery stores, we need the swimming pools, we need more affordable housing. So it's contradictory. So you have to look at, I mean, if we're going to invest a ton of money in the water and not grow, why do that? You know what I'm saying? So there's more involved with this. So I think it's time Mary will.
A lot of the questions in this survey were really hard to quantify because they were so open-ended.
Right.
And they were
Well, we
fill in the blank as opposed to.
We were saying, let's report it this way, and they kind of reported it out the way they wanted to go.
Plans are different.
So we were trying to keep it like simple, because I know we talked about it, went through that, and they said, well, let's reword it, and they just went and did it the way they wanted to
They made it
do it.
unnecessarily complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
so-
agree.
That's where I was like, I really didn't understand the result.
I was sort of frustrated about the same exact thing.
So we'll work on that and get this out. I think January, maybe February time frame is a decent response to get those back.
Mr. Manager, may I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
Mary, do we have a way of tracking how many people are looking at the meetings?
Yes.
What's the response been? Not that many yet?
There were more in the beginning, and not so many now.
Do we need to put?
Less than 50.
Okay. Do we need to put
That's more than you're here.
Well, true.
in Troy, like in Troy's, Rankin's Rantings, a short thing about the meetings are available on that.
I can do something.
Not everybody, there's probably still not enough difference. I tell everybody that'll listen, but that,
We could do that, but I would hate for you to see how many of the water bills come to the front desk in a sealed envelope. The bill comes out, the envelope goes in the trash, and anything else that's inside isn't ever seen.
some things I'd really rather not know.
That's, well, for election, for example, where we had 2 months' worth of envelopes printed with the special notation on the outside. So if they get the envelope, they'll see vote April 6th or 7th, I can't remember the date, and call for information, and right on the outside of the envelope. We had good luck with that when we changed the due date for water bills. We did the same thing, put it on the outside of the envelope. So if they get the bill and they look to make sure that it's theirs, they're gonna see it.
Okay.
I don't even know if my water bill.
See, that's the only way I know what's going on around town, is I read his report.
Some people do every month and will
Yeah.
comment, but it's a really small
A
amount.
lot of it's the seniors, that they were
Mhm.
talking about.
John Gilmore's charge.
Love letter everybody. So, great. I think we could do competition where if they view the board meeting on the website, and they can pick out what color shirt the mayor's wearing as an example, and get a discount.
Yeah, if you give them money off their water bill, everybody in
No,
town
I'm
is
just
watching.
kidding.
Because they love that at the key.
Well, going back to the comp plan, I mean, this was part of the conversation about poor results. at the dedication ceremony, I was a little worried, I didn't know what to expect, but that was a veteran's dedication, so it did surprise me at the end of the day. When we did the groundbreaking with the seniors, nobody showed up. We did comp time, nobody shows up. So it just depends on the topic and the time.
When did you do the groundbreaking?
Yeah, that was on a weekday in the middle of the city.
Well, that's because of the...
It was to their convenience.
Not ours. It wasn't to their convenience, granted, that's true.
It wasn't a gambling day, so they say.
Don't do it on Thursday.
And if you notice, I think today they put the fence around the perimeter.
I didn't go
This
by there.
afternoon, I think David, you unlocked the gate for him or something.
Whoa.
So on both sides of the building, you can still access the building, the seniors can. And I still haven't heard back from Excel on Connie when they can get that transformer moved with the temporary.
So the excitement level went to DEFCON 4.
And emailing back and forth with Bob Fred, he's working with Brendan from Safe Build. They released the footers and foundation permit today, I believe, or tomorrow. That's the first thing. The sub-utilities, the plumbing, the electrical, Excel's got to get in there. Atmos came in last week and moved the gas line on the east side so the new garage to be built, because it's too close to the building. Those things that I want the board knowing in the report, I'm signing off on, those $1,800 a piece. Those are utilities, I have no way around it.
Yeah, but that's well within your...
But, have not heard back yet. I left a message with, Al Herbert from Excel off the underground from Main Street. When I talked to him last month, he said, I'm just way behind. I just didn't get caught up. So I'm looking at springtime probably to pick up the downtown program again and look at our underground funding and see what we can pay to get that done. Had a small talk with Mike Tupa after the dedication ceremony, and he said, "Is any," because him and his students were really part of that downtown program, and I said, and the Veterans Memorial and the Senior Center. And I said, he offered, because now he does private consulting, he retired. I said, at some point, if we want to get down to the specific details of what that may look, I'm going to call him, because he does have experience. But at that time, we were just getting the big rough scope. So those things are kind of under projects that we're working on. But otherwise, on anything else to add, I'd like to let Carl go so he can come back and work at 6 o'clock in the morning. And if we can...
Sorry we kept you so long.
He's been napping.
You want to go out and just crawl into the back of that top?
That'd be a bad idea.
We could take a 5-minute and then reconvene the conference room.
Okay, I see the natives are getting restless, so let's take 5 minutes, go into our executive session.
Okay.
Anything else? Pass over bedtime.
That's mine.
It'll be fine with that. Oh, 30 anyways, just she doesn't do anything.
Last week.
Okay, on the side of the road. That's another example. Okay.
I'm gonna be gone for
I remember that.
I don't, no, I lost track already, Jim.
Oh, I'm sorry, you needed all that other stuff. It's my 60th year, I've been going on vacation every chance I get. But coming back to work, I still have the same amount of work.